Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, and Mr. Ubaidillah. Let me introduce myself. My complete name is Dwi Chandari with the last NRPS 20, and I am from Marine Engineering double degree. So here I will present my PPT assignment from Group G2, which entitled Optimization of the Role and Function of Mosques for Community Welfare. So the next is I want to explain about the background of mosque. A mosque is a place of worship for Muslims. Mosques have developed rapidly both in terms of their buildings and their functions. It can almost be guaranteed that wherever there is a Muslim community, there will be a mosque. So that mosques have become a place for gathering, learning, sharing experiences, and spreading Islamic teachings, also in addition to being a place of worship. So that during the time of the Prophet Muhammad SAW, the mosque was not only used for prayer but also functioned as a place of worship, like education, community development, Islamic Islamic preaching, cultural activities, leadership training, also, and as a base for the rise of the Muslim community. Next is about the concept of mosque. A mosque is a public building that represents Islamic architecture. It is not only used as a place to pray, but also as a center for social, educational, political, and religious activities. So that the basic idea of a mosque comes from Islamic values, especially the first two pillars of Islam. The first one is Shahada, which means believe in one God, and the second one is Salat, which is prayer. Because of this, the design of mosque avoids using images of living things. Instead, it focuses on cleanliness, the direction of Qibla, and important elements such as the mihrab, minbar, and wudu area. Then I want to explain about the history of the mosque. In the beginning, Islam did not have any special buildings for prayer. This was because early Arab society lived in a nomadic lifestyle and moved from place to place. The Prophet Muhammad SAW said that the earth is pure and can be used for prayer. So Muslims were allowed to pray anywhere and everywhere. Thus, for this reason, until the 8th century, Muslims did not have specific buildings for worship like we see today. They prayed wherever the time of prayer arrived. Then the first mosque as a physical building was built after Prophet Muhammad migrated to Medina in 622 AD. In this new city, he formed the first Muslim community and built a mosque next to his house. This mosque became a special place for Muslims to pray together regularly, so that besides being a place for worship, it was also used for other activities like community meetings, solving problems, and political discussions. Thus, the mosque became the center of Muslim life at that time. Next is still history of the mosque. In the early 6th and 7th centuries, mosques did not look like big architecture works. The word mosque simply means a place for prostration, which so a clean and enclosed space was already enough for prayer. In Medina, the mosque was developed for the Prophet's house. The design included rooms on the sides of an open courtyard. This kind of layout was also used in earlier civilizations like Mesopotamia, Egypt, and Greece. But they all with different purposes. So that this shows that early mosque architecture was influenced by pre-Islamic buildings. Next is about concept and history of mosques in Indonesia. Mosques are places of worship for Muslims and serve as center for spiritual, social, and educational activities. In Indonesia, mosques began to appear between the 3rd, 13th, and 50th centuries, along with the arrival of Islam through trade routes from Gujarat, which mean India, Arabia, and China. And then the early architecture of mosques in Indonesia was influenced by local cultures such as Japanese, Hindu, Buddhist, Malay, and Chinese. So, for example, the use of tire roofs, which mean tajuk, was an adaptation for temple architecture. And then ancient mosques such as the Demak Grand Mosque uh, since 50th century and the Baitur Rahman Mosque in Aceh reflect this cultural acculturation. So that during the Dutch colonial period, some mosques became symbols of resistance and Islamic identity for the people. After independence, the function of mosques expanded beyond places of worship to include centers for education, preaching, and community empowerment. Next is about the concept and history of mosque in Indonesia, and still what I told. As Islam spread to many regions, mosque designs changed based on local culture and environment. Some examples mosques in Indonesia are the first one is Agung Demak Mosque, which mean built in the 50th century 15th century by the Wali, especially Sunan Kalijaga. It has a three-tiered roof symbolizing the pillars of Islam. Its main pillar is called Sakaguru, which is said to have come from the trunk of a magical coconut tree. The second one is Sultan Syarian Shah Mosque, the oldest mosque in Kalimantan, built during the Banjar Sultanate in the 16th century, located in the tomb complex of Sultan Syurian Shah, so that it shows the influence of local Dayak culture in the architecture of the mosque. The third one is Baitur Rahman Mosque, which is founded in to 1209 Masehi. It is one of the oldest mosques in Indonesia, a symbol of Aceh resistance against Dutch colonialism. There was once destroyed and rebuilt, but remains the center of Islamic activity in Aceh. Next is about the concept of campus mosques as incubators for future Islamic leaders reflects a powerful vision where mosques go beyond being mere places of worship. The first one is strategic role in youth formation. So the function of this role, campus must serve as a hub for students' character building, offering consistent exposure to Islamic values during critical period in their personal and academic development. And the second one is about the leadership development platforms. We know that many campus most host students like it organizations encourage members to take on roles in management, even coordination, public speaking, and community service, so that this hands-on experience is essential in forming competent, confident, and responsible Muslim leaders. So next is still about the incubators for future leaders in Islamic. And then the third one is intellectual and ideological training. Uh, some campus most often facilitate seminar, discussions, and guest lecture on pressing contemporary issues from an Islamic perspective, so that these programs stimulate critical thinking, problem solving, and ideological clarity, also enabling students to engage with society as informed and articulate leaders. And the last one is about the role models and mentorship. Uh, I think like imams, scholars, and senior students involved in campus most activities often act as mentors for younger students, so that this intergenerational transfer of knowledge and values is a key factor is in sustainable leadership development. Next is about the optimization of the role and function of most in all aspects of life. We know that mosques have long been not only places of worship, but also centers of community activities. In Indonesia, today, the role of mosques needs to be optimized to help overcome various social problems, such as the economy, welfare, and social life of the community. So that because mosques have a great influence among Muslims, most can be the drivers of social change that have a positive impact. So that by expanding their functions, most can help reduce poverty, improve education, strengthen togetherness, and encourage the progress of society as a whole. So the next one is I want to explain about the economic and community development. The first one is Masjid Pemuda Indonesia MOS. We know that Pemuda Indonesia still located in Surabaya, but I think this is unique because Masjid Pemuda Indonesia in Surabaya has become a model for youth Islamic activities and social entrepreneurship. So the most organizes training sessions on business skills and financial management for young people. It also supports local MSMEs like micro, small, and medium enterprises by providing space for selling products and offering guidance on marketing and digital tools. So another example, I took my ITS most like Manarul Ilmi MUS. Another example in Masjid Manarul Ilmi at Institute Teknologi 10 November ITS in Surabaya, still in Surabaya. So this MUS often works with students and academics to run educational and economic programs. So that during Ramadan, uh, it holds bazaars where local traders and student entrepreneurs can sell food and goods. So so that these events help increase income for small sellers and teach students about Islamic business ethics. So I think for in addition, most can act as center for Islamic finance, promoting financial inclusion and teaching principles such as fairness in trade and shared risk. So that by managing funds like zakat, sodako, and wakaf, most can provide interest-free loans or grants to help people start or grow their businesses. Yeah. From the economic and community development, this shows that most are not only places for worship, but also powerful institutions that can support economic growth and improve the lives of community. So the next one is about social welfare and community. So we know that in addition to being a place of worship, mosques can also serve as centers for social welfare that help meet the needs of the community. Mosques can run programs such as distributing food and basic necessities, providing health service, and supporting education to reduce poverty and promote fairness. So I took, for example, still located in Surabaya, which is Al Akbar Mosque in Surabaya. It plays an active role in helping the local community. For the example, during Ramadan, this mosque regularly distributes hundreds of free meals and snacks every day. It is also organizes social activities such as free circumcisions, health checkups, and skilling training for people in need. So this shows care and unity within the Muslim community so that most can also support education by offering literacy classes like Quranic lessons and life skill training that are useful for community members. So in terms of health, they can host free medical checkups, blood donation events, and mental health counseling. So we get back to during the COVID-19 pandemic, many mosques in Surabaya, including Al Akbar Mosque, became centers for health and social aid. So they provided personal protective equipment, PPE, like food packages and financial help to families affected by the crisis. So that this proves that mosques can adapt and play an important role in solving problems during difficult times. The next one is I think my group. explain about the study case. And here I took two study case. The first one is Masjid Pemuda Indonesia. Yeah, so after conducting a direct face-to-face survey with the representative of the mosque, I gained a great deal of insight. Like, uh, I'm so interesting about this. And among the things I discovered are the following. So this is, uh, I took the picture in front of the Warung Gratis, which means the program of the Masjid Pemuda Indonesia. So the first one is I want to explain about the initial vision and establishment. The first one is background and development timeline. So in 2050, Masjid Pemuda Indonesia existed only as a vision and mission. So rooted in the spirit of Rela Lila, which mean uh, their books, and then from 200 to 2080 until 2090, the most took physically from on the side of the former Philippine consulate. So the previously it became housing a single resident. So, and then the early activities, the initial activity launched in 2021 was a free meal program. So by 2022, Masjid Pemuda Indonesia was officially recognized as a mosque. So the second one is I want to explain about the organizational structure. So the first one is key leadership and divisions. So yeah, the most the most of Masjid Pemuda Indonesia includes two kiai, the first like Islamic scholars overseeing various divisions. So in these divisions include Baitullah for security and education, Baitul Mal for donation, Baitul Syiar for media outreach, Baitul Sifa for health service, and Baitul Muamalah for businesses activities. And then in the organizational structure, there is operational roles, which mean each division operates fulfill specific community needs while enhancing the most outreach and service offerings. And then, yeah, this is my picture with the Ustad of Masjid Pemuda Indonesia. And then for the characteristic and approach, in Masjid Pemuda Indonesia, has open access and community engagement, which means Masjid Pemuda Indonesia operates 24 hours in every day while limiting mandatory donations. Participation is based on voluntary contributions. And then in Masjid Pemuda Indonesia, a clearly marked donation box is available, emphasizing the importance of community support without pressure. And at the characteristic and approach, there's community philosophy, which means the core philosophy question like, what benefit does this most provide to the community? So all the activities and donations in Masjid Pemuda Indonesia are grounded in the principle of voluntary giving. So yeah, next is about the financial transparency. In Masjid Pemuda Indonesia, there is two. The first one is reporting practices, which means financial transparency is maintained, although not all financial data is publicly disclosed. And then only donation reports are shared while complete financial statements are available on request at the consulate office to prevent community disputes. And then in Masjid Pemuda Indonesia too, there is access to financial information. The first one, no, I think which means interested individuals can view detailed financial reports directly to ensure openness. Next is still about the Masjid Pemuda Indonesia. Uh, in Masjid Pemuda Indonesia, they have social programs and activities. The first one is community engagement initiative, and the second one is volunteer and visitor management. So in the community engagement, there is programs reported to local officials include the Pasar Bahagia and the free meal service, and despite a small management team, activities proceed efficiently through a structured recruitment process via Masjid Academy program. And then there is a volunteer and visitor management. Yeah, for the requirement in Masjid Pemuda Indonesia. There is also for guests like Musafir, uh, it works like may stay up to 3 days unless special circumstances allow for extended stays in exchange for active participation in most activities. And then for the volunteer in Masjid Pemuda Indonesia, occurs online through advertising and forms. And then next is donation and security protocols in Masjid Pemuda Indonesia. The first one is control donation process, like which is donations are collected by designated santri to ensure proper handling and mitigate risk of misappropriation. And then the second one is security measures, which mean this approach avoids past issues where funds did not reach the most. So yeah, here I do the survey individually, and yeah, this is my picture. And then the last one for the Masjid Muda Indonesia, there is religious activities and facilities. There's also a regular religious program like Masjid Pemuda Indonesia has principles of they want to become multifunction mosque, like which mean guide various programs including free meals and 24 hours emergency vehicle service, and for the health service uh, they they have a monthly free health service is over in person alongside daily online consultations. And then in Masjid Pemuda Indonesia, there is training system for santri and youth. So the difference of Masjid Pemuda Indonesia and the other, the most unique training system emphasize rigorous responsibilities for newcomers to foster humility and resilience. And in Masjid Pemuda Indonesia, uh, do the individuals, regardless of previous status, start new to cultivate leadership qualities and remove arrogance. And then in Masjid Pemuda Indonesia, there is facilities for youth and caretakers. Uh, Masjid Pemuda Indonesia has support for youth and marbot and expansion of the mosque. So for the support for youth and marbot, which means youth and caretakers receive professional support, like including monthly rewards, accommodation, meals, and family facilities. And for the expansion of the mosque, Masjid Pemuda Indonesia currently operates 5 branches. So the second study case is I took Masjid Manarul Umi ITS. So in the Masjid Manarul Ilmi ITS has a unique features of Masjid Manarul Ilmi like distinct management atmosphere, which means Masjid Manarul Ilmi stands out due to its vibrant atmosphere, like frequently visited by students and the surrounding community. And in Masjid Manarul Ilmi ITS, it offers a clean and shaded environment, enhancing the worship experience despite lacking air conditioning. In Masjid Manarul Ilmi ITS, there is a transparent infant management, and the principle of transparent infant management, Masjid Manarul Ilmi ITS has a structured and transparent system for infant management, which is with weekly announcements regarding infaq funds every Friday. And then for this transparency contributes to community trust as funds are located to various activities. And the Masjid Manarul Ilmi ITS, there is most maintenance and employee salaries. And then the study case, and then next, still about the Masjid Manarul Ilmi ITS. The first, there is, they have beneficial and sustainable programs like in Masjid Manarul Ilmi ITS hosts several impactful programs such as Ardika, KSSI, and Saji, which is utilize funds from Jamaah Infak. And then in the Masjid Manarul Ilmi ITS, Ardika organizes various Ramadan activities, providing free sahur and iftar meals, like while the example like KSSI, which means supports those fasting on Mondays and Thursdays with free meals. And for the Masjid Manar Ilmi ITS, uh, they have a Saji, which means offers morning study sessions with breakfast, catering to student needs and fostering community engagement. And the last, I think they have a lot of programs. And next is about the engaging the youth and community in Masjid Manar Ulmi ITS. For the info management is primarily handled by most officials, but there's also student involvement through GIF and with a digital info initiative. So for the GIF focuses on collecting donations from students to support various Islamic student organizations within their departments. So still about the Masjid Manarul Ulmi ITS, they have enhancing community welfare, which is the existing infaq management at MME is considered optimal. However, continued engagement with the community is essential to maintain effectiveness and impact. And then in Masjid Manarul ITS, they encouraging regular feedback from the community on how donations are utilized could further enhance transparency and trust. And then next is still Masjid Manarul Umi ITS. They have a lot of program and how to control the influx. So yeah, there is the facilities and community support, which means Masjid Manarul Ilmi ITS provides various facilities that support the community, like remaining open 24 hours and bustling with activity during all 5 daily prayers. Also, the Masjid Manarul Ilmi ITS are designed to accommodate large gatherings, especially during significant events and demonstrating its role as a community hub. So that's all about my PPT. Without any further ado, thank you everyone and thank you Mr. Ubaidillah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.